Hey, hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess. And before you hit dislike, before you start typing your dissertation in the comments, all I ask of you is to hear me out. I mean, you probably won't, but I ask that you hear me out and let me get out my thoughts. And then, I mean, you can leave your dissertation. It's not guaranteed that I'm gonna read it. And if you're rude, I'm gonna delete it. But I'm just saying, just give me a moment. So welcome back to my channel. Did I say my name already? My name is Jess, and obviously I'm talking about the Wheel of Time TV show on Amazon Prime. If it feels, I'm trying, okay, multiple things. I'm trying not to have a glare in my glasses. I also kind of slept on my neck wrong, so I'll probably be angled this way. Also, this side is kind of chaotic, so all of those three things together, we're kind of angling this way. Sorry if there's a glare, but we just have to deal with it because today, vision, blurry. Also, I have read only 3 of the Wheel of Time books, only one time. What else should I say? And then this video will not be very like structured or organized. This is just like word soup, word vomit of my thoughts of the show. And you know, so there may be book spoilers, and definitely book 1, maybe 2, I doubt in 3, and obviously spoilers for the TV show. So I think that's all I have to say, but let's talk about it. So I'm obviously not a Wheel of Time super fan because I've only read 3 books and I only read them recently because the adaptation was coming out. I have watched the show, all of it, a couple episodes I've revisited, partially rewatching them, and I've discussed it with friends over on the World Hoppers channel that I'll link down below. We discussed the first 4 episodes and then we did a discussion on the second 4. I'm not sure if that's up yet, but you should check out World Hoppers, collaborative channel. All of the AdSense revenue and merch sales get donated to charity. So you should check it out. So Wheel of Time, huge fantasy series, 14 books and a prequel, and that started in the 1990s by Robert Jordan, was finished by Brandon Sanderson. Obviously, if you're a fantasy fan, you're pretty much aware of this. I had known of the books for a long time, you know, kind of went back and forth on whether I wanted to read them. And I actually owned the first 2 for a couple years and then finally was like motivated to read it because the show was coming out. I'm typically a person who wants to read the source material before watching the adaptation. Now, I have enjoyed, for the most part, the first 3 books. I don't love them. I think they have issues. They're very long and could be edited down. But I liked it enough, I was intrigued enough to continue, and was excited about the adaptation because I love fantasy in reading, obviously, and then I love a fantasy adaptation. And so while I enjoyed the first book, I said it was long and there were things that could be cut out. So I was interested to see what they were going to do with the show. It had a high budget. And I know that Jeff Bozo the Clown has a lot of money. So I was like, oh, this could be good. I watched only like 1 trailer. I didn't look into too much of the promo stuff for it before it came out. And I was like, oh, it looks cool. So I went in with relatively high hopes, interested to see what they were going to change. Now, another note is that I had to learn when watching Game of Thrones, because I've read A Song of Ice and Fire, well, the books that are out, that I had to enjoy things separately. So I love the A Song of Ice and Fire books, but I had to put the Game of Thrones show separately so that I can enjoy it, and I did. Obviously not the season we don't talk about, but I loved Game of Thrones the show, and I love A Song of Ice and Fire the books. When I read it first and then watched the adaptation was Harry Potter, which I loved Harry Potter, and then watching the movies, I still enjoyed the movies, but I was picking out every single thing that was different, but I was also young. So I've grown to realize, obviously, everything from the book cannot be translated to screen, and sometimes you have to make choices about things you have to take out. And that's fine. And like I said, I'm not a super fan, so I wasn't expecting the show to stick exactly to the eye of the world. I figured there would be changes, but what they did doesn't make sense to me. So general thoughts is that 8 episodes is not enough. I don't think episodes is enough for any fantasy thing you're adapting, really. I don't think it was enough for The Witcher. I haven't read any of The Witcher or to play the video games. I just wanted more, but definitely not for The Wheel of Time. Like I said, The Wheel of Time is 14 books and a prequel. They're all at least 500 pages. There's so much story there. And even if you're not adapting every single page, you still need time. And 8 episodes, not enough in my opinion. I also feel like I wish they had taken more time. Now, obviously, I don't know what was happening behind the scenes. I don't know the contract obligations, timelines, and what they had to do, if they had to have it out before the end of 2021, whatever, because obviously COVID impacted their filming. That is a real thing. It impacted how many people they could have on set or extras or whatever, and some things they had to CGI more than maybe they planned. They had an actor leave, I'm not sure why. So obviously those things were out of their control, but I just wish they had more time, because some of the things that they probably reshot or had to work around because of COVID and because of a main cast actor leaving weren't great. Like they seemed very rushed, and I just, again, think maybe they had a timeline they had to get it out by, but I just wish they had more time to work on how they were going to make those changes. I need lip chap. Oh, shit! Also, I'm not a director, I'm not a script writer, I'm not any of those things. This is just a general person and my opinions, okay, on the internet. But the writing was not good. It was not good. The way they decided to tell the story was terrible, in my opinion, and the writing was just left the actors very little to work with. I do think that Daniel Henney did a phenomenal job as Lan. He did a great job. And I think that Rosamund Pike did a great job with Moraine. But again, there were still some cringy lines that they gave her. And I've seen most people say that they like the actors, and I feel the same for the most part, because it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell if they are good actors or not, because they're not given good material to work with. The poor actor for Perrin was just grunting and gaping the whole time. And that's not his fault. That's their fault, the writers, producers, whoever. So I will just give them that the actors are the best they could. But it's really the storytelling, the way, the order they decided to tell the story in, I didn't like. And obviously I'm coming as a person who did read the book, but I'm not like some super fan who wanted to stick to the book exactly, but I still don't, the way they change things doesn't make sense to me. Like, I wish they would have filmed, and I don't know if they did film this and just cut it out. I wish they would have shown the prequel for The Eye of the World, because regardless if it confuses the watcher or stuff, there's other stuff in the season that confuses people because it makes no sense and you didn't talk about it before, and then you just spring it out of nowhere. The horn. So I thought the prequel, if they would have filmed the prequel, it could have been a really catching, a grabber, like an eye grabber, an eye grabber. Wow, I don't know. It's such a freaking bonkers way to start a book that I think it could have been a really great first scene for people coming into this without having read the books. I think it would have really pulled in an audience, but that's just my opinion. I don't like, I guess, the changes they made in the story. They had to move some things around, but overall, just the order of the story, the writing, I don't think was great. And of course, I have personally issues with how it looked a lot of the times. A lot of the sets didn't look lived in. They very much looked like sets. Especially when the first episode, when they're in Emmons Field, just almost look like one of those deserted western towns. And then in the second episode, when they're in Shadar Logoth, it looks like the set is maybe 10 feet tall. It just didn't look good to me. And I have talked to other people and friends who've watched it and said they didn't really notice those things. And some people just don't notice those things, but I do. And it bothers me. The Trollocs looked, I'm sorry, the Lord of the Rings is a standard. And if the orcs could look that good in 2000, 2001, then these Trollocs should look better in 2021. I think the ones that were actually people with a lot of makeup and costume looked better than the CGI ones. No, it did not look good. Oh my God. So I feel like there's enough of the general things that I didn't like. And so now I'm getting into my nitpicky things that I didn't enjoy. Overall, so 8 episodes. I know a lot of people have 7 as their favorite episode. I feel like this is an unpopular opinion, 4 and 5. And while 5's main story, it shouldn't have been in the show because it took up so much time, the acting and the writing was one of the better of the series. I felt real emotion. I felt it was great. It shouldn't have been in the season because you already had such limited time, but it still was done well. but I understand the criticism of people. But it's just the first 3 episodes I was watching and I just felt so meh about. I just don't like a lot of how they told the story. I don't and also, before we go any further, I'm 10 minutes into recording. I want to go ahead and say now that none of these issues would be solved had all of the characters been white, okay? Just don't. I've watched a lot of people's videos, a lot of freaking mad fantasy dude bros on the internet who are mad that they dare have a cast that's in various shades of color. Like, literally everybody being white would not have saved this show, okay? Stop blaming that the show's not good on the show having a diverse cast. That's literally not it, okay? It's not a freaking agenda of woke intersectional feminism. Like, please shut the fuck up, honestly. And if you leave a stupid comment like that below, I will delete it unless I'm feeling extra petty and just had a Red Bull, because I might fight with you in the comments. But I don't suggest you do that. You should keep it cute. If you have that theory anyway, why are you watching this black girl's channel? Like, please spare me and save yourself the time. The show overall needed a better team. I don't know. Rafe Judkins apparently is a fan of the books. I don't know how long ago he read them, but it doesn't seem like the people who wrote this, you know, put this whole thing together were a fan of the books, because I don't know what this is. I don't know what this is. So that aside, I don't like that they changed the whole Who's the Dragon Reborn in the show. I think it was dumb. It wasn't done well. It didn't add anything to it. I think it was obvious, even if you're not a book reader, who the Dragon Reborn was. Like, how could it even be Perrin when he doesn't talk? Like, how was that even an option? Just like, it doesn't make sense. I don't think, so from the very beginning, the first episode, I was like, why are we doing this? And I understand, maybe because they do want to be more inclusive, that's not like an agenda, that's just a smart thing that people want to do in the world, is that, you know, men and women can be powerful. But I still don't think I like how they did it in the show. Maybe if it had been actually like hidden well, like you really had to guess. But I feel like it was really obvious who it was in the show. And then also, once we get to the episode where Rand finally realizes he's the Dragon Reborn, and he has his little vision thing or his little focusing thing, and then he goes to Moraine, and she's just like, I'm like, what? So you, Moraine, this powerful Aes Sedai, haven't known exactly who's the Dragon Reborn. The Amerlin seat doesn't know who the dragon. No one, y'all don't know who the Dragon Reborn is. Y'all just know a timeline and where they should be from, and you think it's these 5 people. But he just comes to you, and you're just like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, no talking about that. Granted, if they had, it's not on screen, which should be. It just seemed really odd that they spent all of these episodes trying to get to this place, trying to figure out who's the Dragon Reborn, and then he just says he is, and you're like, great. Let's go. Let me grab my bag. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. So much of it also just doesn't make sense. I really wonder, once they edited the show, did anyone just sit down and watch all the 8 episodes in order? Because it was poorly edited as well. There's so many scenes that just feel literally like they just cut it off. They didn't find a good stopping point. And then characters just disappear for the rest of the episode. Like, who edited this? Because, and I do this myself on just like a 45-minute video, if I don't go back and watch the whole thing through, I miss things where I like cut myself off and in the middle of the word, or I edited something wrong. And I would think in a major production like this, you would go back and make things like better transitions and things be more cohesive and like flow better, and they didn't really do that. And also, while I'm thinking of that, because the character that disappeared that I'm thinking about is Loyal, what the fuck? Was he like the last part of the budget? Y'all were like, oh, we've got $5 left for Loyal, so this is what we're gonna do, because the disrespect is disgusting. He's one of my favorite characters. And this, honey, what is this? It truly should be illegal what they did to him. The actor, great. I love the energy that he brings to Loyal, the personality, the voice, but that hair, that whole look, I hate it. And obviously it would be expensive to CGI Loyal, but I mean, I feel like there's people out there you could source, get some inspiration, make it work, and do something better than that. It is awful. I also didn't like, I didn't like the part when they're in the ways. It felt really Lord of the Rings to me, and I have read the first book, which is very heavily Lord of the Rings influence, like you can really feel it. But in the ways and just weird things. I hate that they're really not focusing on Perrin's wolf narrative. I really enjoyed that part in the book. And there's just those random moments where it's brought out and you're just like, when they're in the ways and he can randomly see that thing in the dark super far away, and I'm like, how can you see it? And it's like, God, like, you don't, it doesn't make any sense. No one's gonna understand this because you haven't talked about it. Also another complaint, and again, I'm gonna remind you to keep it cute in the comments because I may fight you if you don't, but I do not like, while the show does have more than just white characters, which is great, I do not like that all of the dark-skinned characters are either killed off early or they're villains. Pat and Fane, I mean, they're doing a great job, but like, we can also be just regular cast members, you know? Like, we don't all have to be Paper Brown Bag and Lighter. The guy from the White Cloaks, Evil, one of the Aes Sedai, she got killed in like the second or third episode. So there's not that many to begin with, and then the ones who are dark skinned are either evil or they die quickly. And I'm sick of it. That's a big thing in just popular media in general, but I really, you know, progress is slow, but I'm gonna need us to catch up and get it together. It's really working my nerves. Another big gripe I had was the whole, was it episode 7 or 6? They all blend together because they're all just a mush of mess. Episode 7 or 8 with the whole like battle thing, it just didn't make any sense with the whole linking and like, wow, they're all super powerful, but nobody has practiced anything. And then why wouldn't you take all of these women who are super powerful and can destroy all of the Trollocs and put them in front of the men, or like take them in front of the wall? Like, even if you were changing that from the story, because that's not how it happened, at least like make it make sense. Why would you say, okay, y'all and your little crossbows go up there, y'all all gonna die, but at least you can hold it off until we get our little electricity storm going up here. Wouldn't you put them like up there, like on top of the wall thingy or something, so they could, you know, and just destroy the Trollocs, like the guys can hold them off for as long as they can until they summon all their power? Does not make sense. Also, something that I hate the resurrection trope, and they have done that twice in this show, and it probably is going to happen again in season 2 because of how they left off on episode 8. But it was in episode 4 when Nynaeve just like brings Lan back to life. Like, great, granted, I'm happy because I was like, what the fuck? Lan ain't dead? But why did you do that? Like, I don't, and correct me if I'm wrong, maybe that was in the book, I don't think it was, but the resurrection trope, once it's done, it ruins all stakes for me, because now I know that if anyone is in danger or if anyone dies, it's possibly not for real because you will just bring them back. Then we have Nynaeve burns herself out at the end of episode 8, and Egwene just brings her back, I guess, through tears. She got sad, so she brought her back. I don't know. And then at the end of episode 8, all these people are dead, including Loyal, or it looks like they're dead because they all got stabbed with this fucking dagger. Like, what is happening? So I bet you in season 2, they're just gonna be like, oh, Nynaeve, Egwene, come heal everybody. We're fine. Let's keep going. So every time, instead of me being on the edge of my seat, knowing someone may die and they're not coming back, I'm just like, oh, they'll probably be alive by the end of the episode. Like, it totally ruins it for me. And wow, did we start out early with that. Wow, did we start out early. I feel like I've talked about this show so much that I'm forgetting all the things that enraged me. And I'm already at 19 minutes, but, oh yeah. So, one thing that I was saying earlier was the way they told the story, because in the first episode, obviously we don't get the prequel, or the prologue, and I wanted that moment that Rand had with his dad Tam, and Tam is like seemingly hallucinating or sleeping and talking in his sleep and telling Rand all these things. So then Rand has all these questions, but of course you can't do that because you're like, who actually is the dragon? And again, that's why I really didn't like that whole let's have it maybe as 5 people be the dragon instead of how it is in the book. I just feel like it just didn't work. At the end of episode 8, I feel like we were supposed to be worried, but I didn't ever feel worried. I did not, like, I thought Egwene was going to bring Nynaeve back, but it just never felt that, like, dangerous to me, or like I wasn't worried when Rand goes to the Eye of the World. Like, I know, or was it the Eye of the World or the Dark One's prison, but they don't explain these things. I just was like, okay, all right, and the little vision and nothing. I just was like, literally bored. That shouldn't be boring. The season finale. And then them making it seem like Moraine has, like, been stilled, or again, what are they doing? I know you have to make changes for the book, but none of this makes sense to me, the things that they're doing. And then the things they put in, like the whole water scene in episode 5, and leaving out things like really explaining the power. Like, I don't think they've done a good job, in my opinion, especially for someone who hasn't read the book, to set up this world and really explain what our main conflict is. I've watched so many videos on this, so I can't remember who it was, but they were like, they really should have come in and looked at the main conflict. We obviously have in the prologue with Lews Theron, that he was the dragon. And now there's a dragon reborn. But even in the show, they call Lews the dragon reborn, but he's the dragon. And so there is this potential person who's gonna have all this power. And if they go to the dark side, that's really bad. But if they go to the good side, we can save the world and turning of the wheel and all these things. I don't think they do a good job explaining, because after reading it, I was like, okay, I wanted the show to, like, reinforce what I learned from that book, what I read, like really explain the lore and the history, and like really explain our conflict going forward in the show. And I don't think they did that well. They don't talk about the way the power is different between men and women, but again, that's probably because they did their whole 5 dragon thing, but it is. And it's, like, crucial to the story that it's different between men and women, and why men can wield the power, and the history of that, and Aes Sedai. Like, I don't think they did a great job, really, explaining all of that. And I feel like in season 1, I know you want to, like, grab people. I'm obviously not in television, and so you have to do big fights and stuff like that, but you also, that's like the foundation. You have to set it up for the world. And like, if the show, from what I've seen, I don't know if this is true, there's supposed to be 8 episode seasons, which is not enough. Maybe if your first season was shorter because you planned on doing longer seasons going forward, then you wouldn't have to, I guess, it's not as big an investment. But I don't know. I feel like the show overall, generally from general audiences, has been well received, I think. You know, it's getting fairly decent ratings. I know there's varying levels of general feedback from fans of the books, like people who are really mad because they want it to be exactly the same, people who are enjoying seeing it adapted, and then people who, you know, are super angry. And when we were doing the conversation for World Hoppers, one of the questions was, do you wish it had not been adapted? Granted, I have only read the first 3 books, but with the way they have done this first season, how they're seeming to rush it, they need way more money, I think, because Wheel of Time has so much hard magic and, like, a lot more high fantasy concepts than, like, Game of Thrones. Of course, Game of Thrones had, like, dragons and stuff, but Game of Thrones was really about the political scheming and everything, literally the Game of Thrones. And so it was less magic on screen, and all of these things are on page. And so I think they obviously got more money as it went forward, but something like this, I think, needs way more than the budget that they got, which is already a lot of money, because a lot of it didn't look good, and they need more money and more time, and there's so many characters in the Wheel of Time. Obviously not saying they need to have every single one, but they just need more money and more time. And Jeff, maybe if you stop going to space, you can give them the money and time to do this. I don't know how it works, but I went and saw I saw Spider-Man No Way Home, and I was like, wow, this is what it looks like when the money is really endless. We know Disney has that, you know, the billions, but I was like, wow, because Wheel of Time to me was such a mediocre experience. God, It didn't even look visually great at all. The writing was subpar. It just wasn't a good time. It was, yeah. It wasn't the worst thing I've ever watched, but it also was not even one of the, it's not even close to something good. It was just there. It is what it is. I, of course, am forgetting all of my complaints. I have so many. Maybe editing Jessica might pop back in here, but overall, I wish it wasn't adapted. Not with this team, not with this budget, not with this timeline. Nope. What? That's just my opinion. I, of course, would love to hear yours in the comments, even if you don't agree with me, but just keep it respectful and cute, because I will block you, or we may fight, we may tussle in the comments. So I'm gonna watch season 2 because of Lan, but I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do, because with the last episode and the horn, that random ass just bringing that out of nowhere, which doesn't happen until the end of the book. Like, are they not gonna have the Great Hunt? And I know people have been saying maybe that's gonna be Matt, because they do have a new actor for Matt going after Pat and Fane, who has the horn, and and like, is Loyal alive? You're gonna bring him back from the dead, or was he really not dead? Please do something with Perrin. My God, give that man something to say. I guess I never even touched on the big thing that a lot of people were angry about Perrin having the wife. And the reason he had a wife in the first episode and then accidentally kills her is to really show people, I guess, to have something visual that they can see that leads to him having all of these conflicting thoughts and not wanting to choose violence. And like, I guess, or you could just like show it. He could have lines and like talk about that without having to kill his wife. They just... But where's Min going? What's happening? Why don't they ever explain the Heron Mark sword? What is going on? What are we doing? What are y'all doing? It's not good. It's not good. So I don't know what they're gonna do for episode 2. Season 2. I don't know if it's filming yet. I heard that it is. If it's already filming, worrisome. I don't know. If they're already filming it, then they can't like look at, critic feedback or whatever, but I at least hope they watch it after they edit it so it can be edited better, more smooth, and I hope they give the actors more to work with, especially Perrin, and I hope that they work on their timeline and the way they're structuring the story, because it hasn't been great. And obviously we're not getting out of this personal pan pizza anytime soon, so they're gonna have to work around that for the foreseeable future while filming the show. So I hope that they, improve their CGI or something. So there's that. Yeah, it's a show, it's there. Great for the actors. I'm sure this was great exposure, and they'll probably, get noticed for other things. Love that for them. Love Daniel Henney. Oh God, love him. So again, share your thoughts, keep it cute in the comments. And then if you do share, if you like the show or didn't, let me know, are you a fan of books or not, or if you haven't read them. I'm going to read the 4th book soonish, this month or next month, and then I'm gonna probably from that determine if I'm going to continue with the books, because apparently that's a big like make or break. Like, if you love the 4th one, continue. If you don't, probably shouldn't waste your time. So we'll see. We'll see. I think that's all I have, but thank you for watching. Give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, maybe. And stay blessed, hydrated, moisturized, sunscreen. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.